The rain hit hard, pounding against the metal roof of the small human outpost. Wind howled through the empty hills, and thunder rolled like distant gunfire. Luke sat near the fire, sipping weak coffee, trying to forget the silence that had become his only friend on this forgotten edge of space. Then he heard it. A knock. Not loud, not urgent, just soft. Luke stood slowly, confused. No one should be out here. The storm alone could kill a person. He grabbed his blaster just in case and moved to the door. Another knock, this time slower. Like the one outside was unsure or afraid, he pressed the scanner. The screen flickered. A figure in a soaked cloak stood just beyond the light. She was tall, thin, and shaking. Her hood was deep, covering her face. One clawed hand rested on the doorframe. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Luke hesitated. Alien. No question about it. Those hands weren't human, but she didn't attack. Didn't charge. She just stood there like the storm itself had driven her to the edge of her strength. He opened the door slowly. "You lost?" he asked, half joking. She didn't answer. Rain poured off her cloak, pooling around her feet. Luke stepped back. "Come inside before you freeze." The figure didn't move. Then after a pause, she spoke. "You will scream if you see me." Her voice was soft, not mechanical. Not hostile, but tired and sad. Luke frowned. "Try me." She stepped in, carefully. Water dripped onto the metal floor. As she passed him, he caught a faint scent like burnt ash mixed with wet stone. He closed the door behind her. The fire flickered in the corner. She moved toward it. Still silent, her body trembled. Her long clawed fingers reached toward the warmth, but didn't get too close, like she didn't trust it. Like she didn't believe it was really for her. Luke tossed her a towel. "Dry off." She caught it but didn't move. "You scared of me?" he asked. "No," she said. "You should be scared of me." Luke smiled. "You haven't seen me when I haven't had my coffee yet." She didn't laugh. Slowly, she lowered her hood. Luke didn't flinch, but he did blink. Her face was different, not ugly, just unfamiliar. Her skin was deep violet, textured like stone, but soft. Her eyes were large and yellow, glowing faintly in the dark. She had 2 small horns on her forehead and markings across her cheeks that looked like scars or tattoos. Her mouth was normal, almost human, but her eyes, they watched him like a cornered animal. She studied him too. No scream, no gun. Number. Fear. Just curiosity. "You are not like others," she whispered. "I get that a lot," Luke said, setting the kettle back on the stove. "You hungry?" She blinked. "Hungry? I got soup. Might be the only hot thing out here." She hesitated. Then nodded. 10 minutes later, they sat across from each other. She sipped the soup slowly, like she was expecting poison. Her claws clinked against the metal spoon. Luke didn't stare. He didn't ask where she came from. He just let her eat. Finally she spoke. "Why, help me." Luke shrugged. "Rain's cold." "You looked colder." "No one helps me," she said. Her voice cracked. Luke looked at her for a long time. "Maybe that's why you ended up here." She didn't answer. Her eyes dropped to the floor. "I'm Luke," he said. She looked up. "Zaretha." "Nice to meet you, Zaretha," he said gently. No reply. Only the sound of wind against the walls. And rain slowly fading outside. That night, as he laid out a spare blanket on the floor, she stood in the corner, watching. Her eyes had lost some of the fear, but not all of it. "You can take the bed," he said, stretching. "I'll sleep here." Zaretha's voice came quietly. "You are not scared of me." "Why?" Luke closed his eyes, already drifting off. "You're not the first thing that's tried to kill me. You're the first that asked for soup." She stood there, frozen. Then slowly, silently, she stepped toward the bed. For the first time in her life, the monster was allowed to sleep in peace. And the human didn't lock the door, Zaritha awoke before the sun rose. The room was quiet, warm, and still. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the human Luke lay on the floor near the cold fire pit, wrapped in a thin blanket. His arm hung off the edge, and his chest moved slowly with each breath. He hadn't locked her in. He hadn't tied her down. And most strange of all, he hadn't tried to touch her. She blinked, confused. No human had ever treated her like this. She stood, careful not to make a sound, and looked around the small shelter. It was messy but safe. A few crates. A weapon. On the wall, a photo of Earth green, blue, soft-looking. She'd never seen a planet like that. Her kind had never been welcome there. She moved toward the door, her claws soft on the metal floor. Her thoughts whispered, "Leave now. Disappear before he changes his mind." Her hand touched the panel. "Going somewhere?" She turned fast. Luke sat up, rubbing his face. His hair was messy. His eyes were tired, but calm. "I was just..." She began. He raised an eyebrow. "Stealing my boots?" Zaritha looked down. She hadn't realized she was still holding them. "I thought I should go," she said. "Your people, my kind, don't mix." Luke stood and stretched. "You think I care about that?" She narrowed her glowing eyes. "You should." He walked past her, calmly picking up a mug and pouring stale coffee. "You hungry again?" Zaritha stared. "Why do you act like I'm normal?" Luke sipped. "Because you're not the first person with sharp teeth and secrets to walk into my life." Her lips parted slightly. "Sit down," he added. "You look like someone who hasn't had real food in days." She sat slowly, uncertain, but something inside her wanted to believe. That maybe not all humans were cruel. Later that day, the sun came out, and Luke stepped outside to fix the antenna. Zaritha watched him through the window. She saw the way he moved, relaxed, unafraid. She caught her reflection in the window horns. Rough skin, sharp jaw. Her kind was built for war. Her people had fought humans in distant systems. She had been a soldier once too, until she was left behind, captured, marked. And now she was in a hut, watching a human hammer a broken dish. Loud cracks snapped her from thought. Luke cursed and held up his hand, cut on a sharp metal edge. Zaritha ran outside without thinking. "You're bleeding," she said. Luke chuckled. "Yeah, I noticed." She took his hand in hers. Her claws were careful. Her skin was cooler than his. With surprising gentleness, she tore a strip of cloth from her cloak and wrapped the wound. He stared at her. "What?" she asked, looking away. "Nothing," he said softly. "You just don't seem like the monster everyone talks about." She looked up. "That's because you've never seen me fight." Luke grinned. "That's because you haven't needed to." Their eyes met, and for the first time, it didn't feel strange. That evening, they shared food again. Zaritha sat closer to the fire. Luke handed her a small biscuit. She held it like a gift. "No one gives my kind food." "Well," Luke replied, "your kind hasn't shared soup with me before." She smirked faintly, almost a smile. "Humans fear what they don't understand." Luke nodded. "So do aliens." Zaritha leaned back, her voice softer. "You know they hunted me, right? After the war. Said I was too dangerous. Not even my own people wanted me." Luke didn't speak. Zaritha looked at him. "Aren't you afraid I'll hurt you in your sleep?" Luke stared into the fire. "You could have already done it. But you didn't." Her chest tightened. He added, "Besides, the way you wrapped my hand, I think you're better at healing than hurting." She turned away, her throat tight. "You don't know me." "No," Luke said. "But I'm trying to." That night, she didn't hesitate. When he said, "Take the bed again," she nodded. But this time, when she lay down, she left room. And when he turned off the lights for the first time, she whispered, "Good night." Luke smiled in the dark. "Good night, Zaritha." Outside, the stars blinked. Inside, Something warmer than fire had begun to grow between them, slowly, carefully, and dangerously close to something neither of them fully understood. The sky was quiet that night, but Zaratha couldn't sleep. She lay on the far side of the bed, staring at the wooden ceiling. The human Luke was already snoring softly on the floor. He'd wrapped himself in the old blanket again, same as before, giving her the only real warmth in the small outpost. But even with the blanket, even with safety, her body refused to rest. Her thoughts raced. Why was she still here? Why hadn't she run? Why did she trust a human? Zaratha sat up slowly. Her dark skin shimmered in the dim glow of the fire's last embers. The quiet room, the gentle breathing, the warmth that, it felt, dangerous in its own way. Not like weapons or war, but like a trap made of comfort. She rose quietly, walking barefoot to the window. The moonlight outside was pale and cold. Somewhere out there, hunters were still searching. Not for her, maybe, but for anything like her. Anything different. Anything alien. She wasn't safe. And yet, she felt safer here than anywhere in her life. Zaratha looked back at Luke. He'd risked nothing for her, not yet. But he hadn't asked for anything either. He just gave space, food, quiet. That was more than her own kind had offered. She turned back toward the bed. She didn't expect to find Luke already sitting up. "How long have you been awake?" she asked softly. "Since your claws touched the floor," he replied, smiling sleepily. "You move like thunder when you're thinking too hard." Zaratha rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched. "You should have stayed asleep," Luke shrugged. "Can't sleep with someone pacing like a nervous ghost." She stepped closer. "I'm not used to quiet or soft beds." Figured. He stood and stretched. "Want me to make tea?" Zaratha tilted her head. "Humans drink hot leaves to calm their nerves," he chuckled. "Something like that." They sat side by side on the edge of the bed, sipping steaming mugs in silence. Luke finally asked, "Was it always like this for you?" She didn't answer at first. Then, "I was born during the last war, raised in camps. I was trained to fight before I could even count. My people believed in strength, fear. I was taught that humans were monsters." Luke nodded. "We were taught the same. About your kind." She looked at him. "You still don't flinch when you see me." He looked into her glowing eyes. "Because you don't flinch when you see me either." The silence grew heavy. Zaratha finished her tea. She stood, walked across the room, then stopped. "You really gave me your bed again." Luke nodded. "You don't even know what I am." "I know what you're not," he said. "You're not cruel. You're not a threat. You're not alone anymore." She turned slowly, staring at him. No one had ever said those words to her, not a single soul. Her hand tightened around the mug. She whispered, "You have no idea what that means to me." Luke simply replied, "Then stay." Zaratha blinked. He added, "You don't have to decide tonight. But if you need a place to breathe, it's yours." She didn't speak again that night, but she returned to the bed, not as a guest, not as a stranger. She turned her back to him, curled under the blanket, and finally, her eyes closed. For the first time since childhood, sleep found her easily. And for the first time in her life, she dreamt of nothing chasing her. Only warmth. Zaratha didn't notice the blood at first. She had grown used to pain. On her world, weakness was punished, not pitied. So when her back throbbed, she ignored it. When her ribs burned with every breath, she kept quiet. But Luke noticed. He always noticed things. She winced slightly while sitting down. That was all it took. "You okay?" he asked from across the room. She nodded. "Just old bruises." He didn't press further, but the way he looked at her, quiet, thoughtful, made her skin feel hot under the cloak. Later that day, when she was asleep again in the bed, he walked in softly. She had fallen sideways, blanket half off her back, tunic shifted up slightly. That's when he saw it. A deep, ugly wound wrapped in dried blood and old bandages, jagged and swollen. It wasn't healing. Luke's breath caught. Damn, he didn't want to wake her. But infection could spread. Fast, he opened his medkit, soaked a cloth in disinfectant, and crouched beside her quietly. As he gently pressed the cloth to her side, Zaretha's eyes shot open. She twisted, claws out, growling pure instinct. Luke froze. It's okay, he whispered. It's just me. She was breathing hard, her teeth bared. Her eyes glowed fiercely in the dim light, but his hands didn't flinch. He held the cloth in place. Eyes calm. You're hurt, he said. Let me help. She stared at him, chest rising and falling. I didn't want you to see it, she said softly. I've seen worse, he replied. But not on someone who saved my life from bad coffee. She laughed a strange, short sound. It was almost a cough. Then she looked away. I got it from a bounty ship. They chained me by the back. I escaped, but the wound stayed. Luke's jaw tightened. He gently cleaned the wound, wiping away weeks of filth and dried blood. Zaretha didn't speak. She only watched him, carefully, as if waiting for him to flinch at her twisted, scaled skin. He did single quotes T. When he finished wrapping the bandage, he stood. There, he said. Might still scar, but it won't kill you. Zaretha touched the new wrap with surprise. You're not disgusted? Luke shrugged. Not even close. You've seen my cooking, haven't you? That made her laugh again, a bit louder this time. That night, something changed between them. Zaretha sat closer to him by the fire. Not touching, but near enough that Luke could feel her warmth. She looked at him through the firelight. Do all humans do this? What? Treat aliens like people? Luke stared at the flames. No, most don't. Most can't even treat each other like people. She tilted her head. So why are you different? He smiled faintly. Because I know what it's like to be seen as less. I grew up on a mining moon. Dirty, loud, forgotten. People only noticed me when they wanted something. Zaretha nodded slowly. I understand that too well. They didn't say much more. But that night, Luke placed a second blanket beside her on the bed, and she didn't stop him. When their shoulders touched in the dark, she didn't pull away. And when she whispered, "Thank you," he didn't answer. Because some words don't need a reply. It began with the sky. Zaretha noticed it first, how the clouds didn't move naturally. How the birds had gone silent. Then came the low hum. Luke was fixing the solar panel on the roof when she stepped outside. Her yellow eyes narrowed toward the horizon. He glanced down. You okay? She didn't answer. Then the hum became a roar. 3 black ships broke through the clouds, cutting across the sky like knives. Military class. Fast. Government issued. Human soldiers. Luke cursed. No way. They weren't supposed to patrol this far out. Zaretha's body stiffened. They're not patrolling. They're hunting. Luke climbed down fast. Go inside. Hide. Zaretha didn't move. He grabbed her wrist, then hesitated. When he felt her claws tremble, "You're shaking," he said. She looked him dead in the eyes. "If they see me, they'll kill us both. I'm not just an alien, Luke. I'm classified as dangerous. You're not dangerous to me. But to them, I'm worth more dead than alive." Luke ran a hand through his hair. "There's a crawl space under the floorboards. Get in, now." Zaretha looked torn. She hated hiding. Her pride screamed against it. But Luke's eyes begged her, "Please, Dot." So she nodded. By the time the ships landed, Luke had the fire going, a mug of coffee in hand and a forced smile on his face. The outpost door banged open. Without a knock, 3 soldiers entered. Their armor was sharp, their visors down. Guns drawn not casually. Ready, human settler. "You've been flagged for inspection," one barked. Luke raised his hands slightly. "You boys want tea or just here to ruin the view? No jokes." They spread out. One kicked a crate. Another scanned the walls. The leader stepped closer. We picked up heat signatures on approach. 2, not 1. Luke shrugged. I've got a faulty generator. Spikes on the readouts happen all the time. Mind if we check? Luke forced a laugh. Already doing it, aren't you? The soldier grunted and walked past. Downstairs, beneath the boards, Zarutha pressed her claws into her legs to stay still. Her breath was shallow. Her heart pounded so loud, she was sure they could hear it. She hadn't felt this kind of fear in years, not since the escape ship exploded. Not since she watched her own people abandon her. Above. Boots stomped closer. One soldier stood right above the trapdoor. He froze. Zarutha held her breath. Then, "Sir," he said, "this panel's loose." Luke turned calmly. "Rats, get in." Sometimes, the soldier bent down, started to reach for it. "Leave it," the officer snapped. "We're wasting time." "She's not here." "But sir, readings." I said move. The soldier hesitated, then stepped away. Luke's grip on his mug tightened. "Sorry," the leader said coldly. "We're looking for a fugitive, alien female. Tall, scaled, dangerous. Possibly wounded. Reports say she killed 2 bounty hunters." Luke raised a brow. "Sounds scary. Hope you find her." The leader studied him. Then slowly, the squad left. The silence after the door closed felt like a scream. Luke waited 5 full minutes before lifting the panel. Zarutha crawled out, covered in dust and shaking. Her hands were clenched, her eyes wide. He reached for her. She didn't move until his hand rested gently on hers. Only then did she let go of the fear. "You were right," she whispered. "They came for me." Luke looked down. "You're not the only one they'll come for now. You didn't have to lie for me. I did." "Why?" He looked up at her, serious now. "Because you're not alone anymore." She stared at him. Then, slowly, she took his hand, no longer afraid to be seen. That night, neither of them slept. They packed bags, gathered supplies. Luke's old smuggler contact was a day's hike away, but he knew a path through the woods. The drones wouldn't scan. As they stood outside the outpost, ready to leave, Zarutha looked back one last time. "I thought this would be the place I died," she said. Luke chuckled. "I thought this would be the place I stayed bored forever." She turned to him. "I'll protect you, if they come again." He smiled. "We protect each other." And side by side, they vanished into the forest mist, 2 outcasts walking into danger, but not alone anymore. They didn't stop walking until the sun was high. Luke and Zarutha moved through thick woods, following a hidden path only smugglers and old rebels remembered. Trees whispered overhead, and the earth was soft beneath their boots. Zarutha walked ahead, alert. She moved like a predator, silent, focused, eyes sharp. But her hand never strayed far from Luke's. They were heading for a border outpost, an old station where Luke's friend Bex still ran quiet ships off-world. If they could reach it, they could disappear together. But the world wasn't done hunting her. By nightfall, drones found them. It started with a high-pitched whine in the sky. Zarutha grabbed Luke and pulled him under thick roots. They watched as a scout drone passed slowly overhead, its red light sweeping across the ground. They waited, breathing shallow. Then dash crack. A twig snapped, not theirs. Zarutha's head turned fast. Her claws twitched. She whispered, "They're close." Before Luke could speak, a voice echoed through the woods. "Alien female, surrender yourself. This is your final warning." Zarutha stood slowly. Luke grabbed her arm. "What are you doing?" She didn't answer. Her eyes had gone cold again, like the warrior she once was. She stepped into the clearing. 5 soldiers stood ready, blasters pointed. The commander, same one from the outpost, lowered his visor. Well, he said. "You should have kept hiding." Luke ran out behind her. "She's not who you think," the commander sneered. "You're protecting that thing?" She's not a thing, Luke said, stepping between them. She saved me, helped me. She's more human than any of you in that armor. One soldier raised his gun. Step aside. Zaratha touched Luke's shoulder. It's okay. He looked back at her. No, it's not. She stepped forward, slowly, calm. Then she pulled back her hood, for the first time. The soldiers saw her full face in the daylight. The scars, the horns, the golden eyes. The commander scoffed. Look at her. You're telling me you see something worth saving? Luke's voice was clear, strong. I see someone worth loving. The soldiers didn't know what to say. Zaratha looked down. Her claws were shaking, but her heart was steady. She walked to Luke's side again. We leave together, or not at all. The commander aimed his rifle. Then you both die. But before the trigger pulled, boom, a flash grenade exploded behind the soldiers. Trees burst with smoke. Someone tackled the commander. Gunfire broke out. Luke pulled Zaratha behind a tree. Bex, he gasped. I told you she'd come. Out of the smoke stepped a short woman with a scarred face and a giant pulse rifle. Luke. She shouted. Still saving aliens, huh? He grinned. Still blowing things up, huh? Bex fired again, forcing the soldiers back. I've got a ship 2 clicks out. Move, Zaratha hesitated. Why would she help me? Bex shouted over the noise. Because Luke trusts you. That's enough. Zaratha blinked. Then nodded. They ran. Together, through fire and falling leaves, chased by the people who called her a monster, and protected by the one who called her something else. Not a threat, not a mistake, not a prisoner, but a person. They reached the ship just before dawn. As the engines warmed up, Zaratha looked out the window. The soldiers didn't follow. Maybe next time they would, but for now, they were free. Luke handed her a jacket. Space gets cold. She held it. Even with you around? He smiled. Especially with me around. She looked at him for a long moment. Then stepped closer. You called me worth loving, she said softly. He nodded. Meant every word. Zaratha's eyes shimmered, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt seen. The stars stretched endlessly across the dark sky, scattered like dust across black velvet. Zaratha sat in the ship's observation bay, legs tucked under her, eyes wide as she watched the stars fly past the window. The stars looked different. From space. She had always seen them through cell bars, from behind fences, or while bleeding in a trench. But now, they looked peaceful. Free. She touched the jacket Luke had given her. It still smelled like him coffee, engine grease, and something steady, something safe. She had never belonged anywhere. Not to her people, not to the humans, but with him. Maybe. She heard footsteps behind her. Luke stepped in with 2 steaming mugs. I figured since you like soup so much, you might like cocoa too. She raised an eyebrow. Cocoa? He handed her the mug. It's a sweet drink, no claws needed. She chuckled and sipped carefully. Her eyes widened. This is soft, Luke laughed. That's one way to describe it. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the hum of the ship a calming rhythm. Then Zaratha asked quietly, What now? Luke leaned back in his chair. We go somewhere new. Somewhere no one knows our faces. We start over. She stared into the stars. And if someone comes for me again, I'll still be beside you. She looked at him. Even if they call me monster, I'll call you home. Her throat tightened. You say things no one's ever said to me, she whispered. That's because no one ever stayed long enough to see you. Later that night, Luke showed her the quarters, small, warm, a little cramped. There's only one bed, he said, scratching the back of his neck. Didn't plan for passengers. Zaratha smirked. You offered it before. Luke raised an eyebrow. That was survival. This is different. She stepped close, her voice low. I know. Luke didn't move. Are you sure? he asked. I'm not expecting anything. Zaratha's voice was soft. I know. She touched his hand and didn't let go. They lay side by side, the hum of the ship around them. No storm outside this time, no soldiers, no fear. Just quiet, just breath. She turned to face him. Her eyes glowed in the dim light. Why didn't I scare you? She asked again, voice almost a whisper. Luke thought for a moment, then said, because when you looked at me, I didn't feel broken anymore. She blinked. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against his chest. And for the first time, warmth didn't come from a fire. It came from him, from his voice, his hands, his heart, the thing inside her. Chest once cold, once guarded, finally began to glow. She wasn't a weapon. She wasn't a curse. She wasn't alone. Far beyond any system. She once called home, far from war and walls. Zaretha slept without armor, and when she woke wrapped in a blanket, his arm around her, and no fear in her bones, she smiled, not because she was safe, but because she was wanted. And that, more than any battlefield or escape, made her feel alive.